move to the Q&A, and I see Bob with his hand up. So Bob, and then Sam.
Thank you very much for that very inspirational presentation. One of the teasers for your presentation tonight was your possible willingness to compare the translations of the Tale of Genji by Whaley and Seidensticker. We all know those names very well, and Seidensticker was a member of this club for a number of years, and I'd be very interested in any comments you have about how their translations compare and why.
I came across the Tale of Genji for the first time in my life in 1940. I thought I had a good education. I'd studied literature from the time of the ancient Greeks. I thought I knew a good deal about literature. I went by chance into a bookshop in Times Square. It was one that sold remainders, that is to say, not second-hand books, but books that had not sold as many copies as they expected. And I bought the Tale of Genji, never having heard of it before, because it was so cheap. It was two volumes, and I think it was for 59 cents for both. It was something like that. And 1940 was the worst year of my life. I think it was the worst year of life for most people in the Western world. 1940 was the year that the Nazi armies occupied Norway, Denmark, Holland, Belgium, France. It was the same year that the nightly bombing, air bombing of London began. Reading the newspaper was the most painful thing anybody could do. I was sure the next thing that would happen would be that that America's turn would come. Then I read the Tale of Genji, and I realized that there was another world possible. The beauty of the world. It was a world I knew nothing about, really, but the contrast between my daily life, which was one of horror, what was happening in the world, and the world of people who made everything they touched beautiful, who spoke in poetry, who lived in a world where everything was in consonance with their belief in beauty. It made me feel like a barbarian, but like a grateful barbarian, that such a thing existed in the world. And that was how I started being interested in Japanese literature. I could never forget what I owed Whaley. Whaley saved me. If I hadn't read the Tale of Genji at that time, what would have happened to me? I would have been like all the other people. I would have been drafted. Something would have happened to me. And the thought of doing again what he had done was absolutely unthinkable in my case. I would never have dreamt of it. Even if I'd been offered the most generous contract, it would have made no difference whatsoever. Fortunately, other people contributed things that Willie had mistaken or had overlooked, shortened, whatever it might be, things that Willie added which were not the original and so on, but I could not touch it. It was sacrosanct. I would be glad to talk about Seidensticker or about Royal Tyler too. And there's another translation could be another translation of the Tale of Genji published probably this year or next. So there's no end to it, and all these different translations are being shown. Seidensticker has decided that he would try to be as faithful to the original as possible. This meant pruning some of the things that I remembered with greatest affection that were Whaley rather than Murasaki Shikibu. I think that it was very good for that to happen. Students on the whole who read The Tale of Genji in English tend to prefer Sidney Sticker to Whaley because Whaley's English is early 20th century. It's rather formal. It's not the language that they customarily use. And so they feel closer to Sidney Sticker, who wrote very beautiful English, but a distinctly more modern form of English. So Tyler has gone even one step beyond Sidney Sticker and keeping to the original absolutely, so that when characters change their rank, he calls them by their new rank, not by the same rank all the way through, as both Whaley and Sidney Sticker have. Many other things like that. And I guess that the new translation will have other aspects too. I'm all in favor of them. I think that each one contributes something to our understanding of a great book of literature.
Sam Jameson, freelance. I think one of the greatest honors ever given you was given to you by the Kunaicho, making available to you all of the records of the Emperor Meiji. Maybe they did that because you were the only person in the world that could read them. But that gives you a very good chance of being able to ask a question about what the Emperor Showa said about the Emperor Meiji. In 1971, the foreign press in Japan, which is the repertorial part of the Foreign Correspondence Club, was given an audience with Emperor Hirohito, Emperor Showa, in which he said, and this is taken from a transcript that was done with the imperial household's approval, he said, after mentioning the 1936 incident where he had to order the troops back to their barracks because the members of the government were absent, and after his decision to end the war, that I believe I have acted as a constitutional monarch during wartime and at all other times in compliance with the wishes of my grandfather, the Emperor Meiji. Did you find any material that would back that up in your study of the Emperor Meiji?
The Emperor Meiji is a very hard man to know. I once heard a talk by Leon Edel, who was the biographer of Henry James, and wrote other biographies too. He said you must fall in love with if you write a biography, you must fall in love with the person whose biography you're writing. I did not find it possible to fall in love with Meiji Tenno. But I could admire him. And on several occasions he made decisions which were terribly important and which were sometimes overlooked by people that helped the Japanese. For example, he was very much against borrowing money from foreign countries. And the problem there is that if you can't pay back the money, what happens? And I think that this fear of what might happen if Japan couldn't pay back the loans that it received was a genuine one, and it stopped the possibility which was advocated by most people in the government. But I can give other examples, but I don't know that anything he said would have inspired the present emperor. I think that consecration to duty is the most important that was shared by the two people. Meiji was a slave to his profession of being emperor. He got up very early in the morning, he was up till late at night. He traveled all over the country at a time when travel was by sedan chair, which sounds poetic, but must have been agonizing. And in the summer, unbearably hot. He did everything in terms of what he thought of as complying with his ancestors. And I think the present emperor would feel the same way, that he is also a slave to his duty. It would be inconceivable, for example, I would think, that if the prime minister, people in the government decide this year the emperor should visit Albania, that the emperor would say, I don't like Albania, I won't go. That I think is absolutely inconceivable. He is a person who thinks of his duty all the time.